Hello out there.
We're on the air.
It's Rink Moose talk tonight. The beers are cold.
The mics light up.
And the boys get set to fight. The gloves come off.
Opinions get thrown.
And someone slips on ice. One man howls.
The other scowls.
But the show must go on. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
You're an announcer with a long stick from time to time.
With hockey flows
and more shots known.
Pierre Maguire's life, not John's a leaf.
Ovechkin's teeth
and Hoffman's crazy wife. When Carey slumps
and Bergevin stomps,
Duran's not LaFontaine. Jokes aside,
it's podcast time,
and Rink Moose is the name.
Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of the Rink Moose episodic podcast. A weekly episodic podcast where two good friends get together and discuss all things NHL and their implications in the fantasy hockey realm. I'm one of your hosts, Nick Costu, along with my good friend, Nathan McKinnon's butt buddy, Kyle Nice.
Shut up.
How are you doing on this fine evening?
Well, I'll be honest, Nick. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I might sound a little dazed and confused out here. But
Okay.
I promise to give you my my full opinion and my studied answers as usual, Nick. But before we begin, you made mention of fantasy hockey, and I've got a bone to pick with you on this topic.
Okay.
Our fantasy hockey league
Has gone to shit.
Listen close, everybody. Has lost all credibility that even existed on this fucking league. It's awful, Nick. Like, it's like taking the rule book, taking the police. It's like anarchy. Throw them out the window. There's no rules anymore.
Totalitarianism.
Exactly. There's no rules out here. You got guys trading first-round picks and duds for fucking Bergeron. You got guys just scooping up Vasilevsky and Blake Wheeler for peanuts. It's ridiculous. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying, well, do I play this game? Do I throw my hat into this ring and start trading all my picks? And or otherwise I get left in the dust. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to win this way for this cheap win. I don't know if I can do it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Your number one concern is that people inevitably leave the league. They trade their picks. They get these great players. They leave the league, and then they don't end up paying the toll of trading their picks.
Exactly.
But that's not going to happen because this league has this league started about 5-6 years ago, around grade 10, grade 11. Okay, the guys in this league. You may not know the guys I know as well, but they're very good pals. They're going to stick around. Yeah, I know your pals very well. I know they're, well, I don't know about Braden.
Yeah.
Braden's a wild card. That kind of scares me. Sorry, Braden. But, yeah, I don't know. If there's a trust level, I like these kind of deals. I was reading, in fact, Dober on his ramblings was talking about this, trading draft picks.
Not Dober.
And said they're very valuable. If you have a 10 to 12 man league and the keeper is only 2 or 3 players, these first round, second round picks are worth a lot and should garner a big return. And I think that's what we saw with the Bergeron and the Wheeler and the Vasilevsky deals this past week. But if it's like an 8 keeper league, like you're keeping 8 players, then fuck no, you're not going to see those deals. But because in this league we're only keeping 2 players, why not allow some creativity on the trades,
Well, that's the thing, Nick. If we fully trust in the integrity of this group, then I think maybe those guys even lose the trades. Like, I would say the draft picks are more valuable, but all it takes is one guy out of 10 to say, hey, guys, I'm starting work. I can't do it this year.
Yeah,
everything's fucked. Like, you're looking at the guy who wins the 200 after trading his first, second, and third, and you're going, well, I don't know what to do about this.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about that. And I think what can be used to counter that stuff is you make, like, a penalty. It's like, if you do that shit, if you just back out for no particular reason, you got to pay a significant portion of the league fees the following year. Wouldn't that be something?
In the following year?
Yeah. So like,
But what if they just quit and just run?
If it's a $200 pot, the guy puts in $100, and then everyone else only has to put in 10 instead of 20 because he was a dick and just left the league.
Right. But what if he
You know?
he says, I'm not coming back like ever?
And then you send some loan sharks after him.
I guess if that guy is to win, maybe you just don't pay him the full amount.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good one because he would have ended up getting all those players, the Wheelers, the Bergerons, the Vasilevskis. He wins, backs out because he lost all his picks, and you're like, no, fuck you. Here's only this much, or here's nothing at all. You know.
Well, maybe some contracts need to be made.
Exactly. Yeah. These are things that can be fought against. I don't think it's reason to be concerned. I see why you're concerned, but again, I mean, let's face it. A first round pick in this past year's draft was a Johnny Gaudreau, MVP candidate right now on my team. I got him with my first round pick. Brad Marchand, another first round pick.
Yeah.
Those are valuable assets that these guys are just trading away for rentals to have Bergeron for 8 weeks or Vasilevsky for 8 weeks. I'd much rather have a Marchand or a kid like Johnny Hockey for 25 weeks, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. If you wrap your head around it, it's rational, and that's why we've had it.
The sad thing is, like, I'm not going to trade my draft picks, I don't think. And now I'm kind of realizing that I can't win. Like, it's kind of shit.
You can trade your picks.
But I don't want to.
You have to draft really well the following year and be very savvy with your picks.
I'm not like a Matt Moops who's in 7th place and starts trading picks like crazy. Like, I'm only trading picks if I think I've got a really good chance at winning. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Like, if you were in my spot, first place, would you be trading your picks right now?
Probably.
Like, you're guaranteed to get a bye in the playoffs. You just got to win 2 weeks in the playoffs. You'd be making some trades.
I would trade my everything's open except for my first.
Everything's open to your first. Okay,
Yeah.
something to think about because I haven't touched those picks, but something to think about.
Just don't screw the league any harder, please.
Oh, what? Come on! I just sold you on how this isn't screwing the league, and
I
now
don't
you're
know.
saying
I might have
All right,
some
whatever.
inside sources just saying this league's going to shit. Maybe
if you don't say it, it's not going to happen.
Well, there it is. So, Nick, we talked about the sad Gabriel Velarde news. Do you want to quickly update the fans on what's going on with the poor kid?
I mean, if it matters, I mean, he's just.
We got some LA fans out here.
I guess.
You know why it
Gabe
matters,
Velarde-
Nick? Is because
Why does it matter?
LA can't afford to have a high first rounder go to the shits. That's why it matters. He was a top, 10th pick?
I'm not concerned. Okay, anyways, just to give you guys the news, he's been shut down for the rest of the year. He's going to recuperate. Here's the thing: he's shut down for the remainder of Kingston season.
This is bad.
Which is shorter than the AHL's season. So he may not be shut down for the whole year. It just means he's out for Kingston season. And if he recovers in time, he might be able to help the Ontario Reign in a potential playoff push.
Nick?
So what?
I've heard reports saying it could be potentially career-ending.
Really?
Like, he will actually have to really assess this and say, like make a decision here. Like, it's not a minor thing.
That would be unfortunate. That would be very unfortunate.
Like, I'm looking at like a Robbie Fabry deal and
Yeah.
comparing it to that, and my God, Nick, you can't have that. Your
don't
two
know.
favorite
I don't know.
teams. It's just what's going on? What's going on here?
No, I'm not concerned because if you were a well-informed Kings fan who watched the World Junior Championships, you would have saw guys like Rasmus Kupari on Finland, or Mikey Anderson, the captain of the Americans on defense,
Mikey
or
Phillips
or Marcus Phillips, top pairing defenseman for Canada.
Top pairing defenseman.
He was, yeah. He was playing with Evan Bouchard.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I call that the top pair at the end of the day.
Oh, well, I think on paper it was. I mean, that team's a debacle, and we'll get into it soon. But regardless, they were top pair defensemen.
Well,
yeah. So they had some good prospect showing. You know?
Anderson Doolin. fucking lame.
Anderson Doolin was great.
He's such an LA player.
Gord Miller was just sucking him off.
No.
Like, come the later. Yeah, he was in love with him.
That's because he plays a boring game.
Yeah, but it's effective. It's like an NHL kind of brand kind of game. You
Yeah,
know, win
yeah.
face-offs, get the puck in deep, physical, kind of like a Zach Hyman.
No,
you
yeah,
know?
he'll be a great third liner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, the Kings look good there. They're in the running for Jack Hughes right now, who, by the way, had an awful tournament. Was
What?
not very impressed with him.
He didn't have an awful tournament. He
It was
had an
pretty
injury for
bad.
3
He
games.
barely played, and when he did play, he was off. He was off his game.
You watched the
Both-
USA games?
I watched the final 2 US games.
Really?
They set me in the final. I was disappointed with both brothers. It was the first time I saw them play.
No
I was very
way.
disappointed. Very disappointed.
I'm very surprised, actually, because I didn't watch those games, as you know. So I
Very
was kind of,
disappointed.
wow,
and
that's
and,
interesting.
and a lack of character in my mind.
Really?
I watched the Jack Hughes interview after the loss to Finland.
Yeah.
He was in tears.
Well, that's
They
fine.
asked him. No, listen to this. They asked him, Jack, what did you learn from this experience? Something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing to learn from this.
No.
I'm just sad. Yeah, he said, I'm not going to take anything away from this.
Wow.
I just want to come back next year and win. He sounded like a pouting baby. You should see the clip on TSN. It should be there.
I gotta watch it because that sounds
What a
like
baby.
Yeah.
He legit said, quote, I won't learn anything from this. Or I haven't learned anything from it.
Wow. What a
He
bitch.
just sounded like a baby who I cannot believe will be in the NHL next year. Just hearing him talk, he's like a kid you meet on the playground.
Really?
Like, oh my God, I cannot see how this guy can play next year.
Well, hey, I'm rooting for your opinion here. I mean, I'm glad. I like that guy Kappo Kakko. How was he looking out there?
Well, he scored the game winner, and I think that's the reason why Jack was even more frustrated. You
Oh,
got the
sure.
guy right behind you in the draft rankings, and he scores the golden goal for Finland.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a goal that he could write home about. It was just more. of
Sure,
a
but it's
tap
still
of
the
that.
goal. You know,
Sure, yeah.
you're
I
gonna
guess so.
that's the game winner. It's the Kapanen goal of this year. You know,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
Finland won in 2013, I think.
Yeah,
the year.
true. Yeah, that's
So,
interesting.
I don't know. Yeah.
But okay, yeah, that's even Quinn, eh?
Even he was awful. He was awful in those
What?
last 2 games. He was turning over the puck in the neutral zone. No one would be back.
Oh my
Just making
God.
bad plays. I know you for early in the tournament. You said he looked like the best player at some point. You were watching him, but boy,
Yeah.
oh boy, those last 2 games, nothing to brag about. If you're one of the Hughes brothers,
He just got like in over his head. He was trying too much, or
he
what
was
was
just
going
bad.
on?
Yeah, he just tried to do a big move. He tried to break the puck out of his own zone. He'd lose the puck. He'd mishandle it, or some guy would check it off him.
Wow.
Just bad. Like, just not the crisp play I was expecting. Like, he just looked like nervous and kind of struck out there.
Wow,
So
interesting.
that's why I can't even see him playing in the NHL this year. Like, if
Come
if
on.
Vancouver even
He's
No,
going to be
like-
in the NHL this year at the end of this year.
no
probably.
you put it off till next year. I mean, he
Ooh.
just I mean, it's a short sample size, albeit like I'm by no means judging these players like right here right now. But
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
2 very important games on a big stage, a place that Pierre Maguire says you should dominate the
Oh
World Junior.
God! Don't
and they
bring
just-
that
they
D
just-
word in here.
And they just did not.
Down. Come on. All right, well, let's get into the tournament a little bit more, Nick. Mostly on the Canada side. So let's rewind back to December 26th, 2018. Denmark, 14-0. And what is the quote from Don Les Cherry on Hockey Night in Canada the following Saturday? The hockey gods are gonna get ya. You can't go running around beating Denmark 14-0 because you're going to get pumped later on in the tournament. What did we see, Nick? And I'll tell you what I saw. I saw one of the most unlucky sequences of events in recent Team Canada history. I don't know how else to say it. The way things shook down in that overtime was like it is what exactly Don Cherry said. It's an act of Jesus Christ or God or whatever you want to call it, because there was forces at work here. I'm just I was beside myself. I was so frustrated to lose like that. Man, oh man, Nick, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate for the audience, I mean, fluky goal with a few seconds left in the game goes. Okay, first off, okay, no, it was like nuts how it happened. You have this finish forward going into your zone. I have no idea how he got into the zone. He somehow like evaded both Canadian defensemen along the boards. You remember what I'm talking about here, right?
Yeah.
It, like out of nowhere, like someone's got to at least take the body on him and just not let him around you. But he literally skates by both guys, puts the puck on the net, goes off somebody's leg, either a Canadian or a Finnish player. I think it was a Finnish player, and it literally just like slides under the armpit of Di Pietro. He's in disbelief, and the goal's in, and it's a tie game. And then in the overtime, you got the shootout, or sorry, not a shootout. You got a penalty shot. Evan Bouchard makes a great play, gets tripped up, gets the penalty shot. Canada doesn't. The coaches don't know what the fuck's going on. They don't know if they're allowed to pick a guy, or you saw that shot where it showed the Canadian coach, and he was just scrambling around, looking around, not really knowing what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
It was embarrassing, and then he looks at Comtois and goes, "Comtois, you're the guy." Comtois.
He didn't say it like that.
Yeah, probably. You know, the guy goes in. Basically makes a move, not even a move, basically shoots the puck like a house league player would. Nothing, just literally nothing. He just skates it on the goalie, tries to shoot under the blocker, fails miserably. And then Canada, after that, it's coming down the ice. What was it? Tippett who broke his stick? Who broke his stick?
It was Noah Dobson.
Noah Dobson, stick breaks. Beautiful feed from his teammate. Wide open net.
Cody
stick breaks.
Glass.
Cody Glass.
No
Beautiful.
look cross seamer. Oh my God, it would have been amazing. Like that was a play for the heavens.
Oh yeah, just nuts. And the stick breaks. Puck goes the other way. That same guy, Cody Glass, tries to get his stick on the puck.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, deflects off his stick into the.
Yeah.
Then literally like a little 5-10 second span.
The most ridiculous loss that we've had in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to rewind. I want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
The penalty shot.
Mm-hmm.
How can someone blame the coach for choosing this kid? To me, it seems like just a no-brainer. Why would you not choose the one returning player, the one captain of your team? Now, let me paint the scenario for you, Nick. This isn't just like a regular game. You've got a home crowd. Everyone's on their feet. Like, can you imagine the monumental pressure? No guy, no matter how skilled he is going to go out there pulling fancy moves. They're all just going to kind of keep it simple. That's why I have no problem with the call that the coach made, because this guy's the only guy that's been on this stage. None of these kids have ever seen a stage like this. And
I know. Hey, I get it. I really do. But
you got to understand this.
But there's something called hockey analytics. Okay, there's something called stats, a player's success on a certain goalie, and apparently Frost had a great history against that goalie. One of Glass or Tippett had a great history against that goalie because, as you know, he's in the OHL. That goalie, Pekka Luukkonen, right?
Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah. Your boy.
Love him.
And apparently two of those three guys I just mentioned, Frost, Glass, Tippett, have great shootout success against him. They've beat him with a move in the past. They could have just tried it again. And it was kind of comical because when Bouchard went down, Ferraro was like, "All right, you got to think it's Frost, Glass, or Tippett here."
No,
did he
really?
He literally said that. He's like, "Yeah, if I'm Hunter, I'm going with Frost, Glass, or Tippett." and he literally goes to neither of the three of them.
Well,
and at that point, I knew he wasn't going to score.
No, come on. You didn't.
I'm just saying, like, the analyst is literally like, "Hey, it's probably going to be one of those three guys," and he goes off the board.
It's not off the board though. It's definitely not off the board. Like,
I mean, yeah, he's
the
captain.
most logical thing. Like if you can't
sure.
listen to the analytics on this stage in this moment. It's just crazy.
Well, I don't know. Like, there is a place for hockey analytics. I'm not by no means the hockey analytics guy, but there is a place for it. Shootout success seems to be a place where you could implement statistics, success, chances against a goalie, and how well you do. And I mean, hey, it's easy to be Monday morning quarterback and say he made the wrong pick because he missed.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were 3 guys there who had success against that very goalie, and it's not unrational to say that they would have been good picks at that very moment.
My one question to you is this. Do you think he had this planned out before this situation came up? He must have. He must have. If he didn't have this planned out, then he blew it.
The coach.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he had a plan because, again, when they interviewed him afterwards, he said he was the best guy in practice, like shootout guy in practice, Comtois. So
it's hard
if
to
that's
argue
his
with.
rationale, then clearly he had a plan.
Yeah.
Still a lot. I mean, hey, it's weird. It's weird how, I mean, I guess we're on the subject right now. I wanted to get into just how much of a debacle this coach was, how poor a job he did.
Let's get into it because I agree he's had mistakes. He's had a lot of mistakes in this tournament.
Yes, and I think you need to start with the power play.
Absolutely.
Terrible power play makes no adjustments whatsoever. When we talk about the best coaches in the world, Babcock, guys like that, they're always making in-game adjustments, or even if they're not making in-game adjustments, they're doing it between games, and they're planning, and they're always thinking hockey, and they're always pressing buttons to see what'll work. And this coach just sat on his ass, watched this power play unit, the first unit, just not do anything at all, didn't react whatsoever, just sent the same guys out there every time, and it was arguably the worst power play we've seen in Canadian World Junior history.
It's very possible.
Kyle, I could have put you on the bench. You could have been him. And you would have at least woken up after the first couple games and been like, all right, Lafreniere, you got a shot. Or this other guy who's showing some life, you got a shot.
Or maybe even mix the 2 units, like, pick this guy, move him there.
Exactly.
Like, make one super unit, maybe, and then...
This isn't the New York Islanders where your third line guys are like Komarov and you're trying Komarov out on the power play. This is a team of, they're supposed to be the all-stars, the young all-stars of Canadian junior hockey.
Yes.
Okay, these are all guys who can play on a power play. Lafreniere, a 4th liner, could play on a power play. And you show no semblance of giving guys a shot or creativity. And it takes you 7 games to realize that you blew it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how to explain that.
It's almost like he saw it click in one game, like early in the tournament, probably like Denmark or maybe the pre-tournament, and he's like, this is the group. And then he just he waited. He's like, I know they're going to click. He was hoping for it, but guess what? At that point, you're playing not to lose. You're not playing to win. Like, you have to be aggressive sometimes and try things because, man, it just wasn't working. And we've seen statistically the teams that win this tournament, they all have like a 30 to 40% power play. Like, the numbers are very, very telling. A good power play often leads to winning this tournament. So, I mean, if he was thinking of just riding this out and hoping it would fix itself, you're crazy. So that was a blow. Another thing this bugged me a lot because one of the guys in that game, we were struggling to find offense. You agree with me there?
2 goals in the last 2 games. I think that would be an understatement if you ask me.
Yeah, so I thought the one line that was creating some sort of heartbeat for this team, some sort of offensive spark, was the Frost and Hayton line. They were producing stuff. They were, dipping and dangling. They were skating well. And you know what?
They were. Frost, I think, had a kind of an off last couple games. There was that one game he took the 10-minute penalty, sat in the box for 10 minutes.
Well, that's a different story, but
I agree. As a line, they were okay, but I think his best games were in the start of the tournament.
But I think that line 5-on-5 was like easily the most creative and the most productive in terms of generating chances, though. And the thing is, like, Frost saw 0 time in overtime. 0. Like this is your I think he was the leading scorer at this point, or
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
top 3.
In the OHL, he had tremendous success in overtime.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's the guy in overtime in the OHL. He saw 0. Like the coach just benched. Like,
Again, Kai, analytics. That's something. That's analytics you just mentioned.
He didn't do his homework.
He didn't do his homework. You have to use analytics not as your main tool, but as something that complements what you're really using. However you evaluate talent. And to me, it looks like he just tossed it out the window and didn't even consider things like that at all.
Yeah, it's almost like the big ego of being Canada. He's like, you know what? I don't need to prepare for this game because I got the best team here. Like ideally, you want to make little notes on guys. Well, this guy, he's good in overtime. Just let's write that down and keep it on my notebook. Oh, this guy, he does well in shootouts against this guy. Like it just seems like he went in boneheaded and he just fucking blew it. Like this guy is just
yeah. And speaking of preparation, did you hear about the practice thing?
I didn't. I don't know. Maybe remind me.
This team did not practice once during the whole tournament.
What?
Yeah,
because they didn't have time, or they just didn't practice.
Yes. Yeah, but his complaint was they were kind of midday games, kind of late afternoon, early evening games in Vancouver because they had to televise it for the East Coast.
Yeah,
and he said with that schedule they just didn't practice. And his second excuse was he wanted his guys like with enough energy during the game.
Okay, I mean, what's a morning skate gonna hurt where you go over some stuff?
I mean, the other teams are practicing and they're doing just fine. So what makes you think you got to baby your squad and not practice them?
All I'm hearing is excuses after excuses from Jack Hughes, from this Canadian squad. You know who doesn't make excuses? You know who I felt the most sadness for? You'll agree with me here, was the goaltender, Mikey DiPietro. I was saying throughout this game, I was like, I tweeted it got some traction. I said, this is the best Canadian goalie performance that I can remember in a long time. A long time.
Since Carey Price in the shootout year.
And I didn't even watch that because I didn't care about hockey at that time. But this goalie, he was like, I'm used to seeing Canadian goalies just shaky as shit and relying on offense to get them through. I mean, Carter Hart didn't look this good. This guy looked just unshakable. And then you got that one bad goal and you're like, you saw his face, you're like, oh, it's just heartbreaking. And then like, this guy doesn't deserve this. This is awful for him.
But he's a pro. He handled it very well. They interviewed him after the game, very very calm and composed. The character I was expecting in the moment.
Yeah.
Again, on the ice, off the ice, he was the MVP for Canada in this tournament. He'll be the name. You won't remember this tournament from a performance as a team performance standpoint, but you will remember Mikey DiPietro for sure. I think.
Yeah. And it should be noted, too, that this is his home crowd in Vancouver because he's a Vancouver guy.
Oh, man, when they were chanting his name, goosebumps.
Yes.
I had goosebumps.
Yes. Even after they lost, it was like, wow.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. One more thing, and this is another one on the coach because I love just beating up on this guy.
This is why he's not in the NHL. He'll never make it. He'll never make it.
So yeah, they sent him. Yeah, right after the tournament, they sent him back to Moose Jaw.
Get out of here!
Wherever the hell Moose Jaw is. Saskatchewan, I think.
Oh, that's probably the dirtiest town.
Go back to the middle of nowhere in Saskatchewan.
You're
never going to the show. Anyways, they apparently he had like a press conference after the game. So this wasn't just with the interview after the game. This was the press conference, and he sits down, and this wasn't on film. I couldn't like look it up, but these are just reports. Apparently, like the first thing he said when he sat down was, "I'm not here to talk about the past. It's over."
Nice. So at
which point, Ferraro, being the savvy, smart guy he is, he's just like, well, if you're not going to talk about the past, what's there to talk about? The tournament's over.
Yeah, you're
there's
nobody
no
now.
There's no tape to be analyzed. This team's going to be dispatched. They're never going to be back again. You're going back to Moose Jaw. Like, what's there to talk about?
What a prick.
Like, that's just a very unprofessional conduct after a game. If you want to be in the NHL, you should have to address the media after even the most devastating of losses.
Yes. Yes.
And this is just unprofessional, childlike conduct, in my mind.
Yeah. It really makes you appreciate guys like Dominic Ducharme from last year, who's now on the Montreal assistant coach side. So a
There
good
you go.
guy. He's graduated. I mean, he's had all the success there. And it goes to show, like, if you do well at this tournament, it puts you on the map, even on coaching. So Dominic Ducharme, I hear he's a good players coach. And, Tim Hunter, this guy, he just couldn't get it done. So hopefully we'll see a new guy next year.
Oh yeah, like you'll never hear the name Tim Hunter again at the World Juniors. I hope not.
I
If
mean,
you
how
do,
could
I'm
you? How
checking
could
out.
you?
I'm checking out if
Yeah.
that's the case.
Yeah, agreed. How about that Klim Kostin temper tantrum? What did you think of that?
Well, I'll tell you what. I liked the guy's game against Canada. I thought he played a very good game in the Canada game. And I was ready, and I was, I'm a St. Louis fan, so I was very high on the guy, and I was pleased to see that. But boy, oh boy, when he stared at the crowd and just dropped an F-bomb, boy, oh boy. I mean that's
You
not
didn't
as
like
bad
that,
as the guy chucking the medal into the crowd
No.
last year, but that's pretty bad. And just man, he looked like a mess. That whole Russian team looked like a mess.
Yeah.
Like you could tell they were going to be shipped to Siberia or something after the game because they were just defeated.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, it's the passion of the game. I'll tell you what, it is a passionate game, and he had a reason to be disappointed, and he played an awful gold medal game. So, I mean, fair enough. Or sorry, silver medal game. But I did like the apology afterwards. Very professional, issuing that out, and at least he kind of salvaged that moment with that,
Yeah, and you know where this all started was he's the guy that called Comtois a diving clown. His former life was a circus clown, something like that. So
Wow.
the Canadian fans already didn't like him. So when he was named
Right.
like one of the players of the game or whatever, they were booing him, and then he was just like "fuck off," like a little baby. But you know what? He brought it on himself. Like he drew that attention to himself, and then he got what he expected. He got the boos, and then he couldn't handle it. But he
Right.
did apologize. But I don't know. Sometimes Russian players can be a bit funny. So I think this might be one of those guys who he'll turn his back on you and run off to the KHL after 2 years in St. Louis.
We'll see.
Probably.
We'll see. Maybe. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about the Blues right now, but
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
let's move on.
Let's move on. I want to get a quick Pierre Maguire update from you because I'll be honest, Nick, I haven't been listening to the radio too much, so I haven't heard Pierre's silky voice recently. I'd love to know what he's on about.
Well, he did mention that the most recent Winter Classic, the Bruins against Chicago Classic, that's just a typical NBC Winter Classic teams.
Why isn't Chicago always in those?
They're always in those.
That's ridiculous.
And it's not Boston's first either.
No.
And it's at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So very American location. And hey, the guy said best Winter Classic from both a performance and a rink quality condition standpoint ever in the history of Winter Classic outdoor games. Which, I mean, I didn't watch much of the game. I just saw the highlights. Looked pretty good from my opinion, but I mean, I don't know about quality wise if it's the best game ever. I mean, I can't say so much about it because I didn't watch, but it wasn't like it was a crazy overtime game or a shootout finish. I mean, the theater looked great. It was like a huge stadium. The players, the way they walked in was really cool. Like kind of like a football vibe. But I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I just thought I'd mention that Pierre went off the record and said that.
Well, when just looking at the highlights, it was pretty refreshing to see like how nice the ice was because I mean we've seen tons of games where it's snowing and honestly when the snow's out there and you can't really move the puck, it becomes kind of a dog shit game. So it was nice to see that it looked like a regular game out there, which was cool. But I'll be honest though, Just the outdoor games, they don't do anything for me anymore, Nick. It's just kind of a normal game for me. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch that game, or even if a different team's playing in a regular game, I'll watch that. Like, you know, I'll watch the highlights. I'll look at the spectacle, but I'm not going to watch the game just because it's the outdoor game. Those days are gone for me.
Oh, I agree. And if I do tune in, like I actually disagree with the good rink standpoint. I kind of like it when the conditions are shitty, when the guys are shivering.
Yeah.
They got the fucking
toques.
robber masks on and toques. You can't barely see their faces. You just see their eyes. Like, that's the shit I love, because it's like for just a second, these guys are like us playing on the pond, you know?
Yeah.
Like those nice heated benches they have, those aren't going to help you when it's, you know, minus 30 with the wind chill and it's just a mess out there, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoy seeing it during, and the snow's going everywhere. I can recall that Toronto Detroit one from a few years back. That was
good.
pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of like stuff like that rather than the clean played one. But overall, I agree. I mean, it's been overdone. What I will say though is I do like the decision to have it in Dallas next year and Colorado, because you're starting to expand these hockey markets. You have these kind of unsung hockey markets. It's not as developed.
Yeah.
You're getting the game out there. I think that's good. Like I don't like the game very much. I don't like these outdoor games, but what I do like is what Bettman's doing with moving these more south and more west.
Yeah, that's smart. I just don't know how are you going to do it in Dallas with the weather.
Well, they did it in LA.
Oh, what?
Right? They had a game in Dodger Stadium
Okay.
several years ago with Kings and San Jose. And there was some melting ice, but hey, it was fine.
Yeah,
and
melting ice never hurt anybody.
If they made it work in LA, they'll make it work in Dallas, you know.
Yeah.
And
So-
apparently, this is way back. Apparently, like in the 70s or the 80s, they had one between LA and the Rangers in Vegas in the middle of a desert.
How the hell is that possible?
Yeah, how is that possible back then?
Fake
Pierre
ice.
told me that. He was like, yeah, they had one in the middle of the desert. I'm
Maybe he's fucking delusional, because that sounds like a load of shit to me.
sounds nuts.
Pierre was... those are Pierre's wild, crazy days, if you know what I mean. Like
How could those buffoons in the 70s and the 80s set up a winter classic in the desert?
Pierre was still living as a hippie. Like,
Yeah, I
he
guess.
just didn't know what
I
was
guess.
going on out there. Well, this is
I
the
suppose.
desert, isn't it? No, Pierre, this is New York City. Fucking
Yeah,
shut the
yeah.
fuck up. But Nick, I wanna turn your attention to a player in our city who's not doing so well, Nick. Quite frankly, he's been dog shit. William Nylander, the preppy, rich, pretty boy who held out for his team to get a little bit of extra dollars in his pocket, is playing lazy, at times disinterested, and uninvolved, Nick. Carlo Koliakovo went on to say he's not playing like an NHL player. I mean, if say this were to continue, let's just play this game. Say this goes on for, you know, the duration of the season. What? How does this play out in Toronto? Do they run him out of town, Nick? I mean, if you're looking online right now on Twitter and stuff, you wouldn't believe this shit you read on this guy. Like, people are already up in arms about his play. What's going to happen right now if this continues?
Well, I think at this point, the season's been written off. Like
His season?
Like yeah. Like,
How is that
at this point-
acceptable, though?
I think the goal at this point is just have him ready for playoffs. You have half a season left. By like the 60 game point, I think what Babcock's hoping for is at that point he's finally doing something. You know, because then he's getting heated up for the playoffs, and then come the playoffs, Kyle, if he has a good playoffs, this is all forgotten in my mind.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, if you're a Leafs fan, the regular season means nothing anymore. I mean, there was a short little period they had a slump. I think these next 3 games are big. They got Boston, Colorado, Tampa, huge games. I mean, if you lose all 3, then okay, you're back in the mix of not even making the playoffs.
Wow.
But at this point, the way it looks right now, you're in, and the regular season means nothing. So if the kid doesn't get it going in the next 20 games, but come like game 60, 70, he finds a spark, and they find a spot for him in the lineup, then I think it's gold. And then if he has a good series against Boston in the first round or whoever you play, then you forget about it.
Sure.
That's people can have very short memories when you do things on a major scale. Like think Jake Gardner had a very good year last year, but everyone remembers him for the Game 7 fiasco, right?
Yeah.
So if Nylander can just flip the script and have a poor regular season, but then have an outstanding playoff, then it's all forgotten.
But
So if
here's
I'm
the
him,
twist.
I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, here's the twist though. Say, and it's very plausible. Say Toronto finishes behind Boston. They don't have home ice advantage. And Nylander plays, average, maybe even like pretty well. Not amazing, but pretty well in that series, and they lose. It's bad. It's going to look very, very, very bad on him. Because everyone's going to be going, we needed home ice advantage to win this. It was very important. And they're all going to look at this kid like, I don't know. I don't trust him to suddenly turn it on in the playoffs. He's going to have to figure this out. Or his time here is seemingly very limited, I think. Because people are not very happy. And I want to talk about this too. Outside of the stars on this Toronto Maple Leafs team, I mean, you've got some forwards who aren't doing a whole lot. I mean, look at Kadri. Kadri's having a quietly very bad year.
Oh, terrible. Something like 2 goals in 25 games.
It's nasty. And how's Marlowe doing? Is he pulling his usual weight?
Whole third line's kind of a debacle. It's kind of the waste crew. You got the first two lines doing the heavy lifting. The fourth lines look surprisingly good, and the third line's kind of just a waste crew. You toss the guys in when they're not contributing on the first or the second line.
Yes, and then the other thing is that power play. I'm sure you've heard all about that. Is just the power play's been very bad. People are calling it predictable. And,
that's why they made the changes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matthews is now on the second unit. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there.
We'll see what happens, but a lot of people on the radio, TSN and all that, they're saying this could be a thing of, Mike Babcock putting these players into a system or he doesn't make up the power play, I don't think, directly, but he wants them to very closely follow that system. It may be limiting some of their creativity because, I mean, you look at Mitch Marner, he's one of the most creative guys on the ice, and I don't think Marner's just running out of options there and just forcing that cross seam. It just seems like they just keep playing that same play. But now it worked so well in the beginning that I don't know how this is going to go. But then again, this could be a way to spark Nylander on that second unit as well, because he's kind of like the only main stud on that second unit too. So yeah, this game tomorrow is going to be a hell of a game to watch for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm evaluating the next 3. It's 3 big opponents, right? You got Boston, the Big Bad Bruins, last meeting of the season, 4-point game. This might very well determine where you finish in the standings, whether it be second or third. Then you got Colorado. They're going to be hungry for a win, struggling the most of any team in the NHL right now.
Oh, that'll be
It's going to be 2 fastest teams in the league, excluding Tampa. Mm-hmm. And then that Thursday you've got the Tampa. So between Colorado, Tampa, Leafs, you got the 3 fastest teams facing off there in a span of 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. So I think Leaf fans ought to evaluate those 3 just as their own, and that'll be a good little evaluation for how this team's doing, given they're actually playing some elite teams, in my opinion.
And Freddie Anderson coming back on Saturday, I think.
Is he? Is he back tomorrow?
It sounds like it's 80%. Yeah. Like it sounds like he's gotten the green light to go.
They need some stability there, because as much as Hutchison's won some games for them, he's looking fragile. He's looking kind of weak. You saw that with the 2 goals in the span of under 30 seconds last night. There's been a little bit of Garrett Sparks in him, and he's mentally fragile, and he's given up some weird goals every so often. So you definitely need to stabilize the goaltending position with Freddie coming back.
Yeah, and he's done a pretty good job considering who he is and where he's from. I mean, he's a stopgap, let's be honest, and I think it's been okay what he's been able to do. It's just without Freddie Anderson, this team looks a lot more average than I'd like, you know? Like, it just seems like a lot of the holes are now beginning to show themselves. So it'll be nice to have him back for sure. And it really goes to show you the value that he's delivered to them this year. But, yeah, let's scurry on over, Nick. We've got the Eastern Conference wildcard race. And this one's going to be hot all the way down to the end, I think. So right now we're looking at 3 teams in particular. And I will add, none of these 3 teams are that far back of Boston or Toronto too. So things could change, but I see it shaken down like this. You've got 2 wildcard spots available for these 3 teams. Buffalo, Montreal, and the New York Islanders, unless someone like Carolina somehow goes on a huge run, something like that. But if you were to choose 2 of those 3 teams to make it, who you picking?
So just the 3?
Yeah, 2 out of those 3. Yeah, Buffalo, Montreal, New York. It's pretty tough.
Well, it's very tough, and it's very tough because Islanders have been a huge surprise. Buffalo's been a huge surprise, and Montreal, they've all overachieved. I think that's fair to say. They're all worthy candidates. But hey, I'm going to kind of go with the underdog here. I'm kind of bullish on the Islanders. I like their style of play. I like what the coach has done. From the whole defensive standpoint, they're second in the league in goals against, something like that. Robin Lehner has emerged and found a home in Long Island.
Yes.
Barzell has picked it up since the slow start. He's a star. If you're watching those games, he's flying. Typical Barzell. I mean, I'm bullish on that team. I like them a lot. And then between Montreal and Buffalo, I mean, it's tough, but I like Montreal more because I just to me they look like they're a more complete team. They got the goaltender. They got Shea Weber back. I've never liked Buffalo. Like I can't find a reason to like them. Like I love the fan base. I love the city. They deserve it more than any team to be in the playoffs.
Careful, we got some loyal fans in Buffalo.
Yeah, I know we do. But when I break down the team and I just look at the guys top to bottom on paper compared to those other 2 teams, they're just, I don't know. They got a good first line. You got Eichel back now. Like that's great. You got Skinner having a career year. He just got voted into the All-Star game, one of the last men in. But the defense has always looked meh. You know, you got Risto and Dahlin, but other than that, I don't like any of those guys. The goaltending, they're flip-flopping between Hutton and Elmark, who are talented, but they're not Carey Price. I mean, I don't know. I for some reason I've never particularly been attached to Buffalo, but I see reasons why a Montreal veteran group, veteran coach Claude Julien, you just find that you figure they find a way to get in, and the same goes for Barry Trotz. I just trust like a Trotz and a Julien coach team more than like some Phil Housley coach team, you know?
Well, Nick,
that's just my opinion.
Regarding the Islanders, I'm very inclined to agree. These guys have been impressing me lately. Just in particular, Barzell is just on another level right now. Like he's playing like a top 5 player in the league, and he's gone on to quote, "I've never felt this confident in this team's ability to win games." And I think Lehner is on a 6 or 7 game win streak. You're seeing this coach who's, if this continues, who's probably the front runner for coach of the year, in my opinion, because he took this ragtag bunch of non-John Tavares Islanders up to a playoff spot. It's crazy what he's been able to do. These seemingly, I mean, they were a disaster defensively last year. Now this year, they just totally turned it around. I mean, while I think Buffalo and Montreal started strong and they're starting to fade a little bit now, I think the Islanders are maintaining and maybe even building some momentum. So definitely the Islanders I'm going to keep in there. And Buffalo, Montreal, Nick, I got to say, I have lost complete confidence in Montreal Canadiens.
Wow, what a shock.
I will tell you, Montreal will shite the bed. And the reason why is because in the last few games,
St. Louis game, eh? They got
I'm having
beat down.
nightmares. I'm having nightmares of last year and earlier on, like this team struggling to score. It's just, and like Drouin and Domi have disappeared. Like I'm telling you, it's a step forward this season. This season was great. You're going in the right direction, but this team is not a playoff team. I'm telling you right now. You can't look at Drouin and Domi. Domi's been great, but I mean, you need more help offensively in terms of pure talent. Drouin's not the guy. I think we've established that. And then when I flip-flop and I look at Buffalo, you just got way more pure talent up front. You got Eichel, who's leading the charge as a pure number one center. It's beautiful. Skinner's having a career year. He was even scoring when Eichel was out. You got Reinhart. You got guys like Tage Thompson looking better and better. I mean, the goalies can get it done there. I mean, Price has been average at best this year anyways. So, yeah, I pick Buffalo just to squeak out Montreal by a bit. And, hey, maybe even Carolina finishes ahead of Montreal. I think they could go for a shit quite soon.
Oh, yeah. Like, I wouldn't be... Like, if you remember on our last playoff prediction segment, I chose Carolina as a wild card team. I would not be surprised if Carolina and the Islanders are the two playoff teams. And here's another sneaky one. Maybe that team Columbus drops out with all the drama swirling around that team.
There is a lot of drama there. You're right. A lot of drama.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky, you can't play the game. They suspended him for one game.
Yep.
Because he went when he got pulled, he didn't come back to the bench. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, they're only 2 points away from being knocked out of their spot, and that's concerning.
Oh,
and
why did they do this?
I mean, they lose Bobrovsky. Say he just gets dealt at the deadline.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me you're gonna run with Korpisalo for the last 20-30 games of the year and hope to get you in?
Fuck,
I don't think so. That's a great team on paper. I
love
that
the team. I love the team.
Love the way they play.
Yes.
But if you lose Bobrovsky, if he just doesn't want to play for you, if one guy just pieces out, if he just checks out, your most important player, then you're done. Tostitos.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's even if Korpisalo can play average, I think they still make the playoffs, but maybe they're a wild card. But, I mean, you got to think with their situation, with the Panarin and Bobrovsky, 2 Russians,
they're both
go
gone.
figure.
They're both gone.
They're both gone. So you have to deal at least one of them. You have to go to the GM has to look the owner straight in the eye and go, we got to do this. I'm sorry. Look at what John Tavares did. Like, we cannot let these 2 superstar players walk. Bobrovsky, top 5 goalie in the league. Panarin, unbelievable player. That will just be a disaster for the franchise. So they've got to deal at least one of them. And maybe they roll the dice on Panarin and try to get him to stay by hoping for a long playoff run. I don't know. But if you deal both of these guys, I don't know, Nick. It's a tough move, and it's hard to sell that to the fan base. It's really hard to sell it to the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, one guy straight up said, I don't want to re-sign with you guys before the season even started. So that wasn't going well. And then the other guy's got the off-ice issues. Some kind of, I don't know what happened, some kind of disciplinary issue. And now apparently he said we cleared the air, everything's all good. Yeah. He sat down with the GM today, but that's just for the press. But certain stuff just isn't. Some wounds take longer to heal than others, and I don't think people are gonna have a short memory about this one.
Torts is not gonna let this slide. You know that. There's some awkwardness in the air. Yeah, and this might consume the team, and that would be unfortunate for a team that looks very good for a good fan base. But we'll see what happens. And it's not
very interesting.
It's really not fair on this franchise because they've played all their cards right. They've been patient. Mm-hmm. They've been looming around being a great team. They've been right on the edge of being a great team.
Good trades. You get Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson.
Yeah.
You get Dubois, you draft Dubois, like some great moves.
And that's an
Carpo,
off-the-board
what's his
pick.
name? The Kekalainen, the
Yes.
GM. He's done a great job, but
Great
unfortunately, you got these, two other issues with your two most important players.
It's sad, but yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see the return they get when they do move one of these guys. And hey, maybe it's at the deadline, or sorry, at the draft. Like if they can't get it done at the deadline because there's no value with the players because everyone knows they're in a tight spot. Maybe it's the draft, but that's the latest you can do it is the draft. Otherwise, they're gone.
Yeah, you got to at least trade one. I think you can't let both walk. If you let both walk, then that's a huge loss.
No loyalty, eh? No loyalty in this game. Well,
No.
there should be. There usually is, but not for these guys. Poor Columbus.
Yeah, not for Columbus.
Then again, I wouldn't want to fucking play for Columbus either.
Really? They seem like a Kyle team.
No, I mean, come on, Columbus, Ohio. Like, what's going on?
Exciting hockey market, cold climate. Very Kyle nice.
Is it an exciting hockey market?
The home games are pretty fun. They got the cannon going.
Yeah, I
The
guess.
fans seem into it.
They deserve a long run. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to see them do well, but
Oh yeah.
they're not going to do it this year, anyways. But yeah, one more topic, Nick. The last topic of the show, and it's regarding one of my favorite teams out here. So I have to take some heat on this one. Colorado Avalanche. They're free falling. 7-game losing streak, I believe. 7, maybe even 8. I'm not sure what they're at right now.
I think they snapped the streak, but like
They did.
all in all, if you look at it, like their
Bad.
last 10 games, or it's just brutal.
Yeah, they're still in a playoff spot, but
2-6-2.
their losing ways have been highlighted by a play on the bench, a little skirmish between player and coach, which resulted in whiny player falling off the bench in full tantrum mode. So we saw Nathan McKinnon and Jared Bednar get into it a little bit. Now you could just I heard it was something about McKinnon saying you should pull the goalie. It's not his call to make, and he was very wrong in overstepping those boundaries and yelling at the coach in public. But he gave a very sincere apology. And what I'm glad to see is like someone's fired up about losing. Like at least he's showing some passion here. Like if they were all just putting their heads down and watching like usual, like I wouldn't be. People don't want to see that. So there's fire there, Nick, but it was definitely a very unprofessional move.
Oh yeah, for a guy you assume has character, good Canadian kid. He's in Tim Hortons commercials. Good player on the ice. Like I don't know much about Nathan McKinnon, the guy. I know he's a very talented guy. I know he's vastly underpaid.
Yeah.
That's all I know about him. But I don't know anything about the guy that is Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah. He keeps to himself.
He does. And for this to be my short little snippet, my short little sample size of what he may be, the kind of guy he may be, a little disappointed. And Jared Bednar, I hear he's one of the most nicest coaches in the league, just a straight up good guy. And you get that vibe when you listen to his interviews. And man, for you to just lay out on a coach like that, like I know your team's struggling, but for you to do that, I mean, man, oh man, that's very unprofessional, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I just got the jersey. And fuck, I was upset by this, Nick. I was really upset. I don't like my players acting like this.
No.
I mean, it's not tolerable.
You buy these jerseys and the character of these guys just drops. First Drouin, now this guy.
Oh, you're right.
It's just
You're
bad.
right.
You see them on the ice, you fall in love with them, you gush for them. and then you see how they act off the ice and you're like, what a bunch of babies.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm cursed. When the next what's my next jersey then? What is it? What am I gonna buy? And my next Crosby jersey and Crosby becomes a diva? Like what goes on here?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't like this, but yeah. I think Colorado in the end, I think they're gonna pull out of this. I still think they're gonna be a pretty good playoff team. That hasn't really changed for me despite this losing streak. But you gotta find a goalie to get some traction. So one of these guys is gonna have to take the reins here. Like
It's bad. I mean,
they were so
we
good
were,
earlier. Varlamov was like a
Yeah.
Vezina guy.
we were gushing about the guy, and of late, I think like over the past month, he's got like an 870 save percentage.
Oh, it's
That's not going to cut it.
maybe I'll make a
It's
trade
just
for
not.
him.
I don't know. They just traded for Grubauer, so I don't know if they can afford to make another trade.
No, I mean like me in fantasy.
Oh, yeah. You've
His
kind of
value's
shit
low.
the bed in the goalie department,
Oh
haven't you?
my god, I'm in trouble. So
Price for Fleury, that really worked out.
no. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
I'll tell you what, though. As Pierre says, they're going to get Cale Makar from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and hopefully that's going to turn things around.
But hey, what if UMass goes like really deep and they don't get him to like the playoffs?
That would suck.
And then it's like, like you're gonna really shove this kid in like a PK Subban in the playoffs?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
They need a move, I think, on the front. They're not scoring enough right now. As much as the goaltending's been bad, they need another depth score, second line guy.
Oh yeah,
I want to see that. I want to see that soon.
I'm
I
circling
think it's
back.
better. Yeah, like it's better to make a trade early now. Set the market. Don't just react to the market. The deadline's like 6 weeks away. Be aggressive. Make a move. Swing for the fences. Get a forward in there to complement the big line.
Yeah.
And see what happens. And just stick with the goaltending and hope things turn around.
Yeah. I mean, can we all agree like it's time to trade Tyson Barrie? Like
Ooh.
get this guy out of here. He's got a lot of value. He's got a lot of value. But with these guys, young guys coming in, you don't have room for him. And he's got value, and you can get a scoring wing or scoring forward for this guy. It's got to be now time. Like you can't really fit all these guys. Come on, you can't really fit them.
What would you do if they traded Barry for
who?
Nylander?
Oh, come on, conflict of interest here.
That'd be good.
Well, the thing is, I don't think Toronto wants a Barrie. I think they
No,
want
and they can't trade Nylander this year, right? Because the promise.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's got to be next year at the earliest.
the big promise, yeah.
Yes, of course, the big promise.
But even like get a bona fide second line guy, and I'm happy. But I was just thinking, oh yes, I want to draw your attention to one name, and this guy is a stud defenseman who's been working through injuries, trying to come back. His name's Connor Timmins. You might remember him because he was Canada's top defenseman the year after. Actually, last year when they won, he was the guy. He was Canada's number 1D. So he's been battling some concussion problems all year, but he's getting closer, Nick. And yeah, he's young, but he can find a spot on your third pairing, and maybe even work his way up from there, and maybe solidify the group a little bit. He's a really talented guy. So look for that, but by no means is he gonna like fix all their defensive issues. I'm just pointing this guy out. He's gonna be good.
Yeah, and again, I'm rooting for this team. It wasn't a team I was bullish on before the season, but I went on the record. I said I really liked them from the start, and I'm gonna stick with them. I can't see them free falling. As good as the West is and how teams are pushing, you got teams like Minnesota now who've caught red hot after being cold for a while. Teams like Anaheim, despite their losing streak, very long 9-game losing streak, are still in it technically.
Yeah.
You got teams like Dallas who are on the fringe. St. Louis is trying to find a push here with their new goalie, young Jordan Binnington.
Young Binnington saved the day. Oh my God!
We're crossing our fingers. We're crossing
Cut
our
it
fingers.
out. Take a loss on the season here. Actually, that's probably what they're doing, is taking a loss by putting this guy in.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I mean, regardless, it's different than the East. You got a lot of teams in contention instead of teams kind of dropping. The only teams really out of it, I think, are Chicago and LA. And because of that, teams are right on the back of Colorado. So hopefully Colorado can get it going here quick. It's got to start on this road trip: Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa. Huge road trip.
I think they will do quite well on this road trip. In fact, I'm predicting a sweep.
I hope they smack the Leafs.
I hope so too. You're going to
That'd be
see
great.
a wonderful McKinnon versus Tavares / Matthews, and it'll be wonderful. That line will do some serious damage. And obviously, they're going to beat Montreal and Ottawa. Like, come on, it's not.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's
Your
not
two
even
favorite
close.
teams. Yeah.
And then again with the conflict of interest with Ottawa, who's now in the basement,
Right.
that pick is looking juicier and juicier. It's looking surefire top 5 pick, surefire, which is amazing.
Which yes, if it happens, then we go to the debate of
Brady Tkachuk versus
did they lose
who?
the deal? Exactly.
Yes.
Like if it's top 5, then that conversation's open.
Yes.
So, going to be very, very interesting.
Yes, indeed. But as we say it, that will end the show, Nick. And any further final comments?
No, I just think, like I said, Leafs fans, this is a very exciting week. Tune in. I'll say it again. You got Boston, the big game against Boston. You got the Colorado game, the Tampa game. So a humongous week, trying to end the break well before the All-Star festivities. Did you want to talk about that, or you want to save that for next week?
Let's save it. Let's save it.
All right. Well,
Because
we'll
I'll
save.
be honest,
Yeah,
I haven't really looked at the rosters yet.
Sure. Because there's some interesting topics to come out of that, but we'll
Yeah.
get to that next week.
Yeah.
But just lots of good hockey coming up this coming week. And other than that, it was fun to do this again, just the two of us without the mooks and the round table,
Yeah.
For as much fun as that was, it's good to have some, with all due respect, some educated minds
Yeah,
on
back to
on the
business.
table here.
Yeah.
And it's been another fun show.
Yeah, we had to get caught up a little bit, and we're glad to be back. We took a little hiatus, and expect some more good content. And guys, things are just heating up right now. So the last half of the season should be full speed ahead. So with that being said, guys, it's been a pleasure, and this is Rink Moose signing off.